My 20-year-old lover is pregnant. I like younger women, so I want a divorce. These words suddenly fell upon me. I knew that Todd had a lover, but I was shocked to learn that she was pregnant. And what does he mean by liking younger women? It's not funny at all. However, the next words Todd spoke shocked me even more. I'm also planning to move in with my lover soon. I'm sorry, but I need you to leave this house. I want a divorce, but I hope you'll continue working. I feel that we no longer need PR, but other employees still think it's necessary. Todd continued. At that moment, the door opened without a knock, and a young woman entered. Is it over, Todd? I instinctively knew that this woman was Todd's lover, an unforgivable person who deprived me of my happiness. But the next moment, I doubted my ears. She came here for a surprising reason. After hearing her reason, I began to devise a plan. My name is Daisy Miller, and I am 45 years old. Born in spring, I was named Daisy. Despite its simple origin, I am very fond of this name. My parents have passed away, and as I grow older, my attachment to this name strengthens. Not many people compliment my name, but Todd has liked it since we first met. Daisy, like the name of a flower? It's cute. Your parents must have been wonderful. I met Todd just after graduating from university. After failing at job hunting, I was working part-time at a convenience store while desperately searching for a full-time career. At that part-time job, I met Todd, who was in a similar situation. Being the same age and sharing similar circumstances, we quickly connected and began building a deep bond. Even as part-timers, we held great hopes for the future and shared a common determination to succeed. I chose my university carelessly and spent years without a specific goal, but Todd's situation was entirely different. He confided in me. I planned to work at other companies to gain knowledge and experience after graduation. However, an unexpected development occurred, and now I am preparing to start my own business. During his university days, Todd primarily studied economics, but he also studied computer science. Foreseeing that the future market would shift towards technology, he decided, I am determined to establish my own IT company. When Todd spoke about his ambitions, his expression was bright and full of life. His passion strongly influenced me, making me respect and love him even more. As we started dating, sharing our youth and common dreams, we quickly came to understand each other deeply. When I revealed my feelings to Todd, he warmly accepted them, and we became even closer. We officially became a couple, and the time we spent together, even while working part-time, became exceptionally enjoyable. Todd increased his part-time jobs and began working multiple jobs as he prepared to start his own business. His effort and dedication showed how much he was committed to realizing his dreams. Seeing him work almost without sleeping, I worried about his health and suggested we start a business together. This proposal offered me a chance to save money and simultaneously reduce Todd's excessive burden. Initially, Todd felt anxious about this new endeavor, but sensing my determination and serious attitude, he eventually opened up and accepted the proposal. I persuaded my parents, who constantly urged me to find a full-time job, and to reassure them, I continued working part-time while systematically saving for startup funds over the span of about 5 years. Todd also used his past savings and, working more hours than I did, we were able to achieve our fundraising goal sooner than expected. Daisy, thanks to you, all preparations are complete. It will start in a small room, but this finally realizes our company, he said, and with those words he hugged me firmly. Although establishing the company and realizing our dream brought great joy, our part-time jobs continued as before. Finding new employment was more difficult than expected, and our cherished savings gradually depleted. As a result, stress increased, and frequent arguments about continuing our work led to a tense atmosphere every day. Yet, I continued my earnest efforts, promoting our business while working part-time and aggressively launching many advertisements online. This hard work finally bore fruit, catching the eye of a well-known company's CEO, and our business rapidly began to attract attention. Todd was tearful with joy at this opportunity, and as a result of working through the night, our project was a huge success, allowing us to earn an unprecedented amount of money. The moment we received this huge profit, filled with hope for the future, Todd proposed with a broad smile. "Now I can finally marry you, Daisy. Will you marry me?" I wholeheartedly accepted his proposal, and we got married, overflowing with happiness. Just as we started our new life, the workload increased, and we began to live busy days without much time to slowly savor our happiness. Despite the busyness, the company continued to grow steadily, moving from the small room we started in to a high-rise building located in a prime area. Business was going smoothly, and the progress of our operations was rapid. However, as the company grew, so did the media attention, and we began to normalize daily TV and magazine interviews, which started to influence us. Life's changes are unpredictable, and we, who once worked part-time at a convenience store, had now achieved great success and became figures of public interest. Sometimes we felt like letting loose and relaxing, but the livelihoods of many employees depended on us, so our sense of responsibility was significant. Our company's growth was not solely due to our efforts, but was supported by the support and efforts of many people. As long as we remember this, there should be no problems. However, the situation gradually began to change. Todd's late-night social activities increased, and our life rhythms began to diverge. His spending became increasingly extravagant, often spending tens of thousands in one night, and I could not help but feel concerned about this lifestyle. "Todd, even though we have enough money, isn't this lifestyle problematic in the long run?" I asked him quietly one day when our conversations had decreased. However, Todd's reaction was unexpected. "It's my money that I earned, so I don't see why I should be criticized for how I spend it. I need social settings too," he retorted. Day by day, his alcohol consumption increased, and this change also affected his personality. Once filled with dreams and charm, his words no longer held the same allure. He seemed to believe he was running the company we started together all by himself. Despite my significant contributions to the company, it seemed like he was not seeing my efforts. Although I don't possess technical skills, I have consistently handled public relations since the company's inception and contributed to its growth. However, now that our company has become well known, Todd thinks we no longer need advertising activities. The days when we both worked part-time at a convenience store during financially unstable times now seemed nostalgic. Those times were more enjoyable, and Todd seemed much brighter than now. Those memories gradually began to dominate my thoughts. Recently, with the changes, Todd's behavior had been noticeably influenced by another woman, as he rarely came home anymore. I could not directly ask him about this, but I strongly felt her involvement. He almost ignored me now, while the frequency of him coming home with luxury items for women had visibly increased. Todd might have thought he was hiding the fact, but just seeing the branded bags he brought home made it pretty obvious. When I first saw this, I was excited, hoping it was a surprise gift for me, but unfortunately, such moments of surprise never came. That was when I painfully realized the luxury brand items being purchased were clearly for someone else. The humiliation and shock were indescribable, and for me it was an unprecedented sadness. Yet, I still loved Todd and wholeheartedly believed that the days when we could laugh together again would return. However, I quickly realized that the likelihood of such days returning was almost nil. Despite this difficult situation, I remained loyal to my duties and fulfilled my responsibilities as the public relations manager. No matter what Todd did or said, the consequences of neglecting this job were clear. While my relationship with Todd did not improve, my colleagues within the company continued to show respect towards me. Furthermore, employees aware of Todd's unfaithful behavior understood the situation and even showed sympathy. In essence, Todd's actions were blatantly indicating his involvement with another woman, and the frequency of these incidents was only increasing. In such circumstances, I strongly felt that parting with him was inevitable. Whether I could decide to make that decision on my own was still unclear, but I was preparing myself mentally. If Todd thought I would silently overlook his affairs with other women, he was clearly mistaken. Although I could not grasp his true intentions, I could no longer endure this humiliating situation. After that, Todd never returned to the room we had shared. Our time together had already been decreasing, and it was unlikely that Todd would ever set foot in this room again. While I was away, his belongings were gradually moved out, and soon all traces of his presence had vanished from the room. I had been suggested to change the name on the lease, but I had absolutely no intention of agreeing to such procedures. For the time being, I continued to commute to the company out of necessity until I found a new place to live. Employees did not openly say anything, but they were aware of the rumors about Todd and his new partner. I know they might sympathize with me, but instead of despairing over my current situation, I spent my days thinking about how to handle it. Caught up in such negative thoughts, my spirits had gradually sunk. One day, out of the blue, Todd told me, "My 20-year-old lover is pregnant. I like younger women, so I want a divorce." I was aware that Todd had a lover, but I was shocked to learn she was pregnant. And what does he mean by liking younger women? It's not funny at all. Those words suddenly filled my head. There was so much more I truly wanted to say. However, I was dumbfounded by the words Todd chose. I had never imagined he could be so shallow. Is he even sane? Is this how you say goodbye to a partner with whom you've worked for many years? I have dedicated my life to making his dreams come true, yet to be discarded so easily. However, the next words Todd spoke shocked me even more. "I'm also planning to move in with my lover soon. I'm sorry, but I need you to leave this house. I want a divorce, but I hope you'll continue working. I feel that we no longer need PR, but other employees still think it's necessary." Todd continued, "Now that it has come to this, I'll pay some alimony. Let's avoid any trouble from here on out, shall we? It'll be difficult for you to find a job at your age." Todd condescendingly assumed I had nowhere to go. Yes, the divorce papers. "I'm quitting my job." As Todd made various excuses, I threw the divorce papers at him. He looked incredulous as I sat in front of him, having wanted the divorce himself. Todd looked displeased at my eerie smile. "What? You should take responsibility and continue working." Todd was confident that the company would function without me, but after strong appeals from the employees, it became clear that my departure would harm the company. Even though I was determined to divorce, Todd implied that I shouldn't quit my job. He thought everything would go his way, but he couldn't hide his surprise when I cheerfully said, "I'm quitting my job." "Wait, do you understand what you're saying? Are you planning to take a break?" "That would be fine, but you can't just do as you please." There was still no sign of panic on Todd's face. It seemed he thought I had blurted out something strange in my shock. "That's impossible." "Because that woman—" At that moment, the door opened without a knock, and a young woman entered. "Is it over, Todd?" Her blonde hair was curled, and her youthful face was buried in thick makeup. She was wearing a revealing outfit, glanced at me, and then walked towards Todd. "Ah, Claire, your timing is perfect. We've just finished talking," Todd said to the woman he called Claire, who was his pregnant lover. Bringing a lover into the workplace was outrageous, but Todd was beyond caring about decency. "I'm worried, so Claire will stay here for a while. I want you to sign the divorce papers soon, but I hope you'll continue working," Todd stated coldly, without ever looking me in the eye. I was stunned with anger and couldn't move for a while. Before I realized it, the two of them were making out as if I didn't exist. I quietly left the room and walked out of the company. I didn't want to stay there any longer that day. One day, while I was at work, an unexpected person approached me. "Excuse me, may I have a moment?" It was Claire. I felt an urge to attack her but desperately restrained myself. "May I have a moment? How could that be okay?" I wasn't ready for anything yet. How could she, the woman who ruined my life, approach me so casually? Her gaze held my anger and hatred as she began to speak. I had no idea that this conversation would change our fate. During her sudden visit, she continued talking while gauging my reaction. Clearly frightened by the anger in my eyes, she said timidly, "Isn't it strange how I can appear before you so boldly?" Claire looked different from when I had last seen her, wearing modest makeup suitable for an IT company. Her attire was subdued, highlighting her youthfulness. The woman who wreaked havoc on my life was standing before me. The moment I realized she had addressed me, I was filled with anger and hatred. However, as I continued to talk with her, my anger gradually subsided. Strangely, as I calmed down, I found myself not feeling strong hostility towards the woman in front of me. Why was that? Was it a woman's intuition? Noticing the change in my feelings, Claire looked me straight in the eyes and began to speak. "Do you really want to continue working here, in this company, with a husband who betrayed you and his lover?" I see. Unlike when we first met, there was a sincere look of apology in Claire's eyes now. It was earnest enough to cool my anger. Claire continued, "It may be wrong to say this, but I love Todd. The fact that twins are here in my belly is something that can't be changed. So this is all I can do." With that, Claire took a bank book and a cash card out of her bag. When Todd impregnated me before marriage, my parents were furious with him. To take responsibility, Todd gave me almost all the money he had. Well, he deposited it in my name. By this point, I understood what Claire was trying to say. Todd told my parents that he would transfer all his money to me. He thought he could manipulate me because I'm not smart. But I understand that much. Saying this, Claire took out her smartphone and began to operate it. "I would never do anything to betray your daughter. As proof, I will transfer all the assets I have to your daughter." From Claire's smartphone, Todd's voice could be clearly heard. In other words, there was evidence that Todd had transferred all his assets to Claire. I think it's not good for both of us to stay in this company. I know how rude I am being by saying this, but this is the only apology I can offer. While saying this, Claire handed me the bank book and cash card with her name on it. When I faced Todd again, I had to explain everything to him from scratch. Yes, she asked me to take the money and leave the company. She did it because she loves you and wanted to avoid working with your ex-wife. As I spoke, a look of panic began to appear on Todd's face. The sheer absurdity of the situation made it hard for me to suppress my laughter. "You're not saying that's the money I gave to Claire, are you?" Indeed, it was. Todd never intended to genuinely transfer his assets to Claire. It was just temporarily deposited to deceive Claire's parents, believing he could talk his way out of it if questioned. However, things didn't go as he planned. I explained that I had heard Todd's recorded statement on Claire's smartphone, emphasizing that we were not at fault. "The money you gave to Claire, she can use it however she wants, right?" So I accepted it as alimony. Before I could finish, Todd frantically pulled out his smartphone and tried to contact Claire. But it was too late. After I received the money from Claire, a more significant fact came to light. Unaware of this, Todd was about to be greatly shocked by talking to Claire. Claire didn't answer the phone, but after a while, she appeared in front of us. She was neither angry nor sad, and her expression was unreadable. "Claire, what is this all about?" Unaware of Claire's change in demeanor, Todd yelled, his face turning red. Even as Todd shouted and spat, Claire remained unfazed and threw several photos on the table. "Can you explain this?" Todd's complexion turned pale as he looked at the scattered photos. In each photo, Todd was there, but the women varied. Naturally, these weren't just innocent pictures of Todd and unfamiliar women. In every photo, Todd was intimately arm in arm or embracing each woman. Actually, after meeting Claire, I was called again because there was another matter to discuss. It was about Todd's infidelities. Despite having a wife, he had Claire as a lover, and it was discovered that he had several other affairs as well. "I took Todd away from you. But now I've experienced the same thing. It's karma, isn't it? But now I finally see reality. I did love Todd, but I understand what my future holds," Claire said, gently caressing her swollen belly as she looked down. "Having finished my role, I was abruptly told by Todd that we would divorce, and I witnessed that scene. Claire understands what is going to happen to her now. It's unfortunate, but that's the kind of person Todd is. You're still young, you can start over." Somehow I found myself sympathizing with Claire, the lover I should have hated. She might have stolen my happiness, but now she is a fellow victim. Fundamentally, Todd is the one at fault. He irresponsibly impregnated Claire and behaved as it suited him. Claire and I formed an unusual bond and vowed revenge against our common enemy, Todd. That's why I knew Claire would come here today. Did you think I wouldn't notice? I wonder what's so good about a scum like you. With all this evidence presented, Todd had no room to argue. There was only one thing Todd could do: "Don't mess with me. How dare you do something so underhanded? It's defamation. Give back the money I entrusted." That's all he could do, irrationally shout in anger. "Do you remember saying clearly in front of this child, 'I will transfer it to your daughter'? And now you demand a refund. Truly, you are a disgraceful man." There was no mistake in my words. Without the strength to retort, Todd just stomped his feet furiously on the spot. "If the CEO is this incompetent, I can see where this company is headed. That's why I'm resigning." Todd understood what it would mean for me to leave the company and didn't want to anger me further. His anger gradually shifted to Claire. "This fraudster. You approached me from the start with money in mind." Thinking this, Todd stood up, visibly angry. However, Claire remained composed. "Really? Such a worthless man. I considered forgiving you if you showed remorse for the sake of the child I'm carrying, but I'm thoroughly tired of you now." With those words, Claire removed a ring that Todd seemed to have given her. "There's no way I'd marry you. I refuse." Then she violently threw the ring at Todd. Todd stood frozen, just staring blankly at Claire. Pathetic. "You understand, don't you, that this isn't the end?" When I said this meaningfully, Todd exploded in anger. "Are you threatening me? The luxurious life we've had until now was thanks to me." This situation looked pitiful. I felt an urgent desire to sever ties with him completely. "Just to make it clear, this company's growth is not thanks to you. Remember what would have happened if you had continued working part-time. Whose efforts do you think the company relies on?" When faced with the truth, Todd's face turned even redder. Really pathetic. Incapable of anything but womanizing. "If you think you're so competent, stop depending on your wife. Claire said mockingly and left the scene. Soon you'll be ridiculed by everyone. No one will see you for who you really are. A truly miserable life awaits you. With those parting words, I followed Claire. Though she acted tough, Claire was pregnant. We were no longer enemies. Wait a minute. I caught up with Claire just as she was leaving the company building. Hearing my voice, Claire turned around, tears streaming down her face. We're even now. Claire said this, and I handed back the bank book and cash card that she had given me earlier. This belongs to you. I shouldn't have it. As I refused, Claire gently pushed my hand back. I cannot accept that. This is a gift from me to you. I had felt from the beginning when she handed me the bank book that Claire truly loved Todd. It might be needed in the future, but for her, it's just a piece of paper now. Then, please accept at least half. Even if we go to court, Todd no longer has any money left. So, consider this as alimony. Don't you think it's the best for both of us? At my suggestion, Claire returned a smile. Although there was evidence of ownership, I hired a lawyer to double-check and consider the distribution of these funds. Let's seek as much alimony as possible, beyond this money. At my words, Claire nodded firmly. A few days later, I decided to resign from the company. I felt sorry for the employees who supported me, but I couldn't endure any more humiliation. I think you all understand, but unfortunately, this company is unsustainable. It may seem irresponsible, but I have written letters of recommendation to a friend's company. I guarantee good treatment there. I thanked each employee that was involved in this situation. I promised to find them suitable new positions and provide support for their immediate living needs. Why Todd was silent while listening to this. As one's reputation grows, so does the number of both good and bad occurrences. We were a couple frequently featured in the media as business owners. Therefore, Todd's scandal became a prime subject for the media. The source of this story was Claire, the affairs of a competent business owner who often appeared on TV, and the fact that he had impregnated another woman. As a result, the press surrounded the company. For a business owner where trust is everything, this scandal had a disastrous impact. The phone calls canceling business deals never stopped. Nuisance calls and complaints continued unabated. In this situation, Todd had virtually no right to complain. Fearing a rebellion from the employees, Todd obediently left the cleanup to me. It's over. No matter what I said to Todd, his eyes were empty, and he just repeated the same words. This is all self-inflicted. Truly pitiful. Even as I condemned him, all he could do was apologize. The savings we built together, the days we worked tirelessly without rest, we never imagined that such efforts could vanish so effortlessly. Todd is probably reflecting on his actions for the first time in this situation, thinking that we should have continued to encourage each other if we could go back. Lately, I have been thinking about this, but there is no use dwelling on someone else's past actions. Now, I focus on what I can do and work to help those affected return to their normal lives. Todd, now burdened with a massive debt, was of no help at all. Currently, he is unable to handle anything and is holed up in an office room. Moreover, it has come to light that there were other women involved with Todd, not just Claire. These women were causing a daily commotion in front of the company with the media, making various claims. Obviously, their intention to extract considerable alimony from Todd was clear. According to Claire, all the savings Todd had hidden were used up for alimony to his lovers. Todd has literally become penniless, a shadow of his former self, and was in a very tragic state. He was mentally unstable and unable to hold a normal conversation. As time passed, Todd's reputation did not recover, and it would be difficult for him to find work in the future. The price he had to pay for toying with people's emotions was exceedingly high. Thinking about the chaos Todd will face in the future was terrifying. I calmly observed this situation and fulfilled the remaining duties. Soon after, as I had predicted, the company went bankrupt. Our hard-built business ended in this way. As promised, the former employees received appropriate compensation. As for myself, thanks to the funds shared with Claire, I should be able to live comfortably for a while. I can't just relax, though, as I have a job offer from an acquaintance's company that will allow me to utilize my experience, which I plan to accept. In fact, despite Todd's warning that it would be difficult to change jobs at my age, another person encouraged me, contradicting him. Age is not an issue. It's pointless to worry about his words. Later, during a meeting with the lawyer, Claire cheerfully said this. By then, there were no grudges or grievances between us. We had both had our lives disrupted by the same person, which led us to understand and comfort each other. I hesitated with my question about what she planned to do with the baby, but out of concern and care for her, I ended up asking. "I will raise the child alone," she quietly answered. I had anticipated her decision, but hearing it directly from her stirred deep emotions in me. Claire's parents, who had been furious upon learning of her pregnancy and Todd's involvement, learned the truth through the news and decided to offer their support. Their hearts swirled with anger towards Todd for hurting their beloved daughter, but that anger was not directed at Claire. "We squeezed quite a lot of money out of him," Claire said with a broad smile. Her words showed how much she had overcome her past with Todd and was now confidently moving towards a new future. While not everything had settled perfectly, Claire and I were certainly starting new lives. As we embarked on new paths, Todd remained unable to free himself from his past. I might have been in the same situation as Todd once was, but I managed to take a step forward with courage. Thinking about that is frightening, but I've resolved to live humbly and not forget gratitude. By doing so, a wonderful future surely awaits us, and surely happiness will come to Claire and the child she carries. Really, this house is charming. It gets such good light. Indeed. I want to start living here as soon as possible. While my in-laws laughed cheerfully, Farrell also nodded in satisfaction. Although we came to preview our new home, I hadn't expected it to be such a luxurious residence. As my in-laws and Farrell went ahead with plans on their own, my anxiety grew. Are we really going to buy this house? Unable to hide my confusion, Linda, our agent, quietly said to me, "Ma, let's talk in another room. There's something about the contract we need to discuss." Surprised by Linda's serious expression, I nodded. Led to a separate room, I was filled with anxiety. I thought she might press me for an immediate contract. However, what she said was completely unexpected. "You should run away immediately." What? Confused by her unexpected words, I asked, "Run away? What do you mean?" "I'm sorry for startling you so suddenly, but I've witnessed something." Linda began with an uneasy tone. The content of her words was shocking. "My name is Pamela Moore. I am 32 years old this year. My husband, Farrell, is the same age as me, and while we don't have children yet, we are seriously discussing buying our own house soon. I have been longing for the charm of a downtown apartment, but Farrell prefers a detached house with more privacy. This is particularly because of Farrell's parents. My mother-in-law, Hazel, is 65, and my father-in-law George is 66, relatively young for elderly people, but both have physical disabilities, so their lifestyle needs adjustments. When Farrell was a high school student, his family experienced a traffic accident during a trip, resulting in light injuries for him but severe ones for his parents. Hazel, his mother-in-law, hurt her back, and George, his father-in-law, sustained an injury that significantly impaired the function of one of his legs. Due to the accident, his parents were forced to quit their jobs, and their lives changed dramatically. After graduating from high school, Farrell worked diligently to support both the care of his parents and their livelihood. This demonstrates how deeply he values his family. We met through a mutual friend when we were 26 years old. My first impression of Farrell was that of a sincere person who valued family above all else. He always prioritized his parents, sometimes to the point of being overprotective. At first, I was a bit concerned that he might be worrying too much, but as I learned about his past, I understood why he acted this way. His kindness and deep love for his family attracted me, and I gradually developed deep feelings for him. Our relationship deepened gradually, based on mutual understanding and support. Eventually, our relationship developed and we got married. Through this process, Farrell has been seeking a detached house that would allow his parents to live more comfortably. Considering he is an only child and the health condition of his parents, it's easy to see that his desire is well-founded. However, I have always felt a slight reservation towards his parents, and as time passed, I began to feel that my intuition was correct. Looking back, I had a subtle sense of discomfort from the day we introduced ourselves for marriage, 3 years ago. The first time I visited his parents' home, I was greeted warmly by Hazel. "Pamela, welcome. Our home is modest, but please make yourself comfortable," she said. "Thank you," I replied as I slowly stepped inside. I noticed her struggle with walking, just as Farrell had described before. Shortly thereafter, George appeared from the back of the room. "Pamela, nice to meet you. I'm looking forward to getting to know you better," he said. But he staggered as he walked, clearly struggling with the burden on his leg. This showed how the traffic accident had long-term effects, making work difficult for him. However, they were managing to make ends meet with the insurance payments they received. Understanding this background, I began to realize the source of the unease I felt. Seeing their condition, I was truly glad that I had brought the pizza we had bought in advance. Despite their physical inconveniences, my in-laws tried their best to provide a warm welcome, and I was deeply grateful and wanted to reduce their burden as much as possible. When I placed the pizza on the table, Hazel exclaimed with joy, "I'm sorry for having you prepare such a wonderful treat. Thank you so much. Let's eat right away," she said, reaching for the pizza without hesitation. I was a bit surprised to see them eating so eagerly, but their genuine expressions of joy warmed my heart. At that moment, Farrell jokingly exclaimed, "Hey, both of you starting without us? We're starving over here too." Hazel quickly responded, "Oh, I'm sorry. It's just that I haven't seen such delicious-looking pizza in so long I couldn't help myself. But don't worry, there's plenty for you and Pamela too," she answered with a smile. As she did, She placed a can of emergency food on the table, saying modestly, "I'm sorry, it's just this." George also smiled and thanked her, saying, "Thanks, dear." Seeing my surprised face, Farrell asked me, "What's wrong, Pamela? You look so shocked." I hesitated and muttered, trying to find the right words, when Farrell suddenly stood up, realizing, "Oh, I forgot the drinks." "Look, I've brought them," said George, carrying a tray with glasses for everyone, walking with a bit of a stumble but making a determined effort. "Thank you, Dad, Mom. I'm sorry, I should have prepared this." As I took the tray, I was shocked. The glasses were worn and some were cracked. The contents were just water. I saw my father-in-law fetching water from the bathroom earlier. Could it really be just tap water? Thank you was all I could manage to say. Eventually, my in-laws ended up eating almost all of the pizza I had brought, even though I had intended for it to be shared among all of us. They were holding the pizza box, repeatedly saying it's delicious, and ate very quickly, creating an atmosphere where I felt I couldn't join in. Farrell had no problem eating the canned side dishes. I had brought the pizza wanting them to enjoy it, which was fine, but the canned food was unexpected. When I happened to pick up a can, I noticed it was nearing its expiration date. I ignored it and continued to eat silently. I could hardly taste anything. Seeing my silence, Hazel expressed concern and asked, "Did the simple meal make you feel sick?" "No, that's not it," I replied. "You can be honest with us. Farrell told us your family owns a lot of land, so you must be used to a different level of cuisine. I'm sorry, we can only provide something so modest." At first, I felt like she was being spiteful, but it seemed she genuinely believed that. I was even more confused about how to respond. "It's not like that," I replied hesitantly, as Hazel looked at me weakly. "I'm sorry. Farrell might have told you, but we are physically disabled. That prevents us from going to the supermarket often, and we can't provide as much hospitality as we'd like. It's frustrating to think about what we could do if we were more able-bodied." George nodded in agreement. Faced with their remarks, I found myself at a loss for words. "It's enough, really, thank you so much." It was clear that despite their physical limitations, my in-laws were doing their best to make us feel welcome. With their inability to work, it's understandable that their lives are more frugal. We only had canned food and tap water to make do with. Although I prepared pizza for everyone, it was somewhat unsatisfying to see it quickly consumed by just the two of them, yet Farrell didn't seem to mind, and I felt it might be inappropriate to say anything. In the end, I left their house still harboring that dissatisfaction. Later, as we progressed with our wedding plans, Farrell apologized with a serious look on his face. "I'm sorry, my parents can't contribute financially to the wedding expenses." "It's okay. We were planning to use our own savings anyway, so don't worry," I responded cheerily. I had already advised my parents to refrain from contributing too, fearing it might embarrass his parents if only one side offered financial support. Consequently, we decided to have a modest ceremony. Afterward, I received a call from Hazel, She apologized for not being able to help with the wedding expenses and said she wanted to send some home appliances as a gesture of her goodwill. Despite my reservations, she insisted on sending them. A few days later, several large cardboard boxes arrived at our house, which surprised me with their number. Upon opening them, they were packed with vintage appliances that were no longer on the market: old vacuum cleaners, a faded microwave, and other clearly well-used items. I also noticed the cracked cups and dishes that I had seen during our marriage introduction visit. All these had come from my in-laws' home. What kind of joke is this? I was at a loss for words. Seeing Farrell happily appreciating the gesture. These appliances were used in your mother's house, weren't they? They look quite old, I pointed out reflexively. Well, they still work, and we should be grateful, Farrell replied with a satisfied expression. Despite my surprise, as a matter of courtesy, I expressed our gratitude. I reluctantly contacted my mother-in-law. The appliances have arrived, thank you. Oh, they've already arrived? Those are things we've cherished for many years. I couldn't bear to throw them away, thinking they'd be useful to you newlyweds. You need appliances, right? Her cheerful voice only increased my dissatisfaction. However, many of them are quite worn and some do not work. We appreciate the gesture but plan to purchase new ones. That's such a waste. It would help you save money. About saving money. I really wanted to buy you new ones, but it's difficult for us. It's hard for us to get around, so we gave what we had at home. If they were worried about money, they didn't have to send anything. Moreover, my mother-in-law must have mentioned this to Farrell because he approached me about it. Pamela, I heard you complained about the appliances. My parents went out of their way to send us household items. Don't take their intentions lightly. I didn't mean it that way. This made me feel like the villain. I ended up having to use the old appliances. This wasn't how I envisioned enjoying our newlywed life. It's a situation I find hard to accept. But I kept telling myself that they were considering finances in their own way. Then, Farrell proposed buying a new house. I have always dreamed of having my own home. Normally, this would be exciting news, but Farrell seems to want a home that could accommodate living with his parents in the future. I'm troubled by this idea. Reflecting on my past interactions with his parents, I feel uneasy. I wonder if it's really okay to live together, given their priority has always been saving money, which is why they sent the old appliances. Initially, I thought they were trying to help in any way they could, but I began to doubt their intentions. Later, when I visited my in-laws' house, I noticed that all their appliances had been replaced with the latest models. This raised many suspicions in my mind. I had heard they were financially struggling, but was that really true? They used to say they couldn't go shopping due to difficulty in getting around. However, nowadays, it's easy to make purchases online without needing to visit physical stores. This made me think that perhaps they just repurposed their old appliances as a wedding gift for us. I couldn't bring myself to tell Farrell, but I felt anxious that living together might force us into a frugal lifestyle. Furthermore, considering their situation, I felt that a new construction was out of the question. I was worried that they might suggest choosing a low-cost, aging house. Contrary to my concerns, they seemed to want a solidly built home. In fact, they were already looking at some properties. Seems like things are moving along, I said, perplexed. Yes, I took a drive last weekend and found a wonderful new property that I really liked. Farrell responded as if it were obvious. Why didn't you tell me about this? I felt left out and downhearted. Discussions about the house I was supposed to live in were being made without my knowledge. Feeling dissatisfied, I decided to go see the property. Farrell, his parents, and I headed to the real estate agency. On arrival, the agent quickly approached us. She was a young and attractive woman. Her business card read Linda Martin. "Ma'am, nice to meet you. I am Linda, and I'll be handling your case." Farrell had arranged a car for us to go see the property together. Inside the car, my in-laws were chatting amicably with Linda. It seems the new house is a ready-built home in a high-end area. I had a vague sense of unease. Eventually, our car stopped in front of the property. It was a luxurious single-family home with a spacious yard, clearly in an upscale neighborhood. We went inside and toured the layout while in the living room. My in-laws were very excited. "Really, this house is charming. It gets such good light," they said. Indeed. I want to start living here as soon as possible. As the conversation progressed, I felt anxious and couldn't help but interrupt. "Excuse me, but this is my first visit here." "Oh, is that so? My apologies. Here's the brochure." I was shocked when I saw the brochure. The price was clearly beyond our budget. It was likely a house we could not afford. Nevertheless, my in-laws and Farrell seemed eager to pursue this property. As I was sweating with confusion, Linda was staring at me, her expression suggesting she had something to say. Holding the brochure, I pondered how to handle the situation. Soon after, my in-laws started walking towards the terrace. Farrell joined them to provide support. They were deeply engrossed in their conversation. Then, as if she had made up her mind, Linda turned towards me and whispered quietly, "Ma'am, let's talk in another room. There's something about the contract we need to discuss." Surprised by her serious expression, I nodded. She led me to another room, and I was filled with anxiety. I thought she might press me to sign a contract immediately. However, what she said next was completely unexpected. "You should run away immediately." What? I was confused by her unexpected words. "What do you mean, run away?" "I'm sorry for startling you so suddenly, but I've witnessed something," she began, looking uneasy. What she revealed was shocking. It turns out that Farrell and his parents had been coming to this property previously. According to her, during those visits, his parents walked without any assistance. What does that mean? My in-laws are supposed to have difficulty walking. I couldn't understand. They always seem to struggle with walking. That's why working was difficult for them, and shopping was a challenge. What on earth? I only managed to say that. Would you like to see for yourself? She suggested, peeking through a slightly open door to observe the three of them covertly. Indeed, my in-laws were walking on their own. They weren't using any canes or assistance. Why? Why would they pretend to be unable to walk? This could be evidence, so you should record a video, she advised. Her calm voice echoed. Evidence? What exactly? I'll explain in more detail later. Following her instructions, I shakily took out my phone and recorded a video of my in-laws walking. I just stood there, stunned. I couldn't comprehend what was happening. According to her, it seemed that my in-laws were pretending to have mobility issues. Therefore, she had recommended housing that was accessible for disabled persons. This house can have ramps installed, which would make moving around easier, she had suggested. To this, my in-laws burst into laughter. "Oh no, we don't need anything like that," they said, and started walking briskly away. She did not understand why they were deceiving her. However, the reason became clear later. When it came to providing mortgage documents, it was revealed that the contracts were being processed under my name. Here are the necessary documents. The documents clearly had my name on them. As she discreetly listened to their conversation, she overheard a shocking discussion between them. After all, it's best if Pamela pays for the loan. We've been pretending to be injured. We did receive a significant amount from the insurance, but we've almost used it up on the new appliances we bought. Mom, you're being too direct. But that's what we've been planning all along, isn't it? Find someone from a wealthy family. While my mother-in-law was nonchalant, my father-in-law also seemed satisfied. Farrell kept his promise, didn't he? Pamela trusts you as completely. A kind-hearted, wealthy person is easy to manipulate. Learning the truth, I was astounded. My in-laws had deliberately pretended to have mobility issues to fraudulently receive insurance money. Farrell was aware of these facts all along. After she had let me hear that conversation between the three of them, I was silent for a while. I had never imagined that I would be the one paying the mortgage. In fact, my family owns several properties, and I had mentioned this when I first met Farrell. However, our lifestyle is very ordinary. My parents have always encouraged frugality, and we don't own expensive items. My income is not substantial. I'm just a regular office worker. I had never dreamed that being a landowner would make me a target for Farrell's advances, thinking that it meant wealth. Overwhelmed and unable to react, Linda apologized to me. "I'm truly sorry for bringing this up so suddenly." "No, please don't worry about it. On the contrary, I appreciate you telling me," I replied emphatically, noticing her expression darkened. "The matter is not yet concluded," she continued, and what followed was even more shocking. Farrell had said, "We'll need to draw on Pamela's resources moving forward." And his mother had added, laughing, "Hey, next, give her a little nudge. I'll teach her how to pretend to fall and claim long-term medical expenses. She'll surely be delighted to learn how a little pain can bring in money. I was horrified. They intended to involve me in their fraud. What do you mean? They were speaking as if it were merely a push, but the intention was clearly to cause injury. The thought of being coaxed into committing such deceit was unforgivable. I'm sorry to bring such distressing news, but I felt it necessary to tell you. This is a clear criminal act, and it could harm you as well. She spoke with evident concern in her voice. The implications were hard to believe and even harder to accept. Witnessing the scene firsthand, I saw my in-laws walking boldly. My name was on the mortgage documents, and there was Farrell, who had deceived me. The shock made me dizzy, and I stumbled. "Are you okay?" She caught me just as I was about to fall. I had to pull myself together. As my real estate agent, she had courageously revealed the truth. I had to take some action. "Thank you, I'm fine. I was just startled by this unexpected revelation. I have no intention of engaging in fraud, and now that I know the truth, I cannot simply ignore what my in-laws are doing," I declared firmly. My determination was clear to her, and she nodded in acknowledgement. There was no time to waste. We immediately discussed the next steps to take. After that, I hurriedly left the building through a different exit while she distracted my in-laws. Using the excuse of feeling unwell, I messaged Farrell that I was heading home ahead of him. Once home, I quickly started gathering evidence. I searched online for the date and details of the accident my in-laws had mentioned, and information about the insurance company and the doctors treating them. As soon as I was prepared, I decided to notify the insurance company. I raised the issue of fraudulent claims and explained the details to their Special Investigations Unit. I also made sure to attach and send the video I had recorded today via email. As a result, the insurance company held my in-laws criminally responsible, and they were arrested. It later emerged that the injuries they had sustained in the accident were indeed minor. Nevertheless, they had exaggerated their symptoms to continue receiving insurance payouts fraudulently. Normally, insurance companies are very vigilant about the potential for fraud in cases of traffic accidents. I had been wondering how they managed to deceive the audits, but the truth was eventually revealed. Shockingly, they had conspired with a relative who was a doctor to forge medical certificates, exaggerating minor injuries as severe ones. It's unbelievable. Of course, that doctor was also arrested. This doctor had previously been flagged by the insurance company for irregularities, which led to their swift arrest, along with my in-laws. In the end, they were just a greedy family. It went beyond mere frugality. They were criminals. And Farrell, who had overlooked all this, was essentially complicit. I brought everything to light and filed for divorce. However, Farrell did not accept this and opposed it. He claimed it was all a misunderstanding and pleaded with me to at least meet his mother. I could not understand what he thought was misunderstood. I had no desire for a reunion, but there was something I still needed to say. Together with Farrell, I went to the prison where his parents were being held. Due to the gravity of their crimes, They received indefinite sentences without the option for fines. As a result, my in-laws were incarcerated. Stepping into the visiting room, I saw that his mother already looked dispirited. Separated by an acrylic panel, I fixed a sharp gaze on her. "Mother-in-law, you've been committing fraud for a long time, and you intended to involve me as well? Why would you do such a thing?" Her response was feeble. "What do you mean, such a thing? There was really an accident, and initially I truly was incapacitated. But even as my condition improved, I thought we could benefit from continuing to claim for medical expenses." I was astounded that she didn't seem to recognize the criminality of her actions. I responded firmly, "What are you talking about? That is clearly a crime. It's incomprehensible that you would coerce me into wrongdoing." At that moment, Farrell interrupted. "No, it was just an easy way to make money. It was a mistake, but I thought you'd understand, considering how your family has wealth and lives comfortably. You get it, right?" Fed up with Farrell's flippant attitude, I reached my limit. "What? Don't mix things up. Both my parents and I work honestly. We don't think about making money through crimes. This is unforgivable as a human being. Please never contact me again." At my forceful words, both Farrell and his mother were visibly shocked. The true nature of Farrell and his mother was clear. I had never imagined they were such terrible people. They only thought about making easy money and exploiting others. Even after being arrested, there was no sign of remorse. Feeling that I could no longer deal with this situation, I left Farrell behind and walked out of the prison. I would never come back here. Afterward, I proceeded with divorce mediation. It took time, but the divorce was eventually finalized. Farrell resigned from his job as his parents' arrest became known at his workplace, making it uncomfortable for him. His whereabouts are unknown to me now. Presumably, his parents are living quietly after their release. I never thought such unscrupulous people really existed. For a while, I couldn't even think about marriage. I decided to focus on my career and switch to a new job. That's when an unexpected encounter happened. I met a kind man who understood and accepted me. He understood the hardships I had experienced and offered comfort. While I hesitated about moving forward, I trusted his character. However, lessons from my previous marriage had made me cautious. He tried to alleviate those fears by introducing me to his parents. His parents warmly welcomed us and served elaborate dishes. I felt genuine joy at this seemingly ordinary kindness. His parents, too, were gentle and broad-minded, just like him. I was confident I could feel safe with this family. As a result, we got married and were able to lead a peaceful life. Over time, the topic of buying a house came up between my husband and me. I took him to the real estate agency I recommended. It was the agency where Linda worked. Thanks to her support, I was able to see through the deception before, and I am deeply grateful for it. As we entered the real estate agency, a familiar face greeted us. "Welcome." "Oh!" She seemed to have recognized us. I responded with a smile. "Hello? It's been a while." She was as energetic as ever. The new business card she handed me had Chief written on it. Feeling her growth and experience brought me genuine happiness. When my husband was not around, she kindly said, "It's really great that you found a good partner. I'm really grateful that you told me the truth back then." "Thank you." My smile widened. We decided to build our new house through this real estate agency where she works. It was a decision made after wanting to somehow repay her. I'm sure this time my ideal home will be realized. Thinking about our new home naturally brought a smile to my face.